Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, I live another day today into 13th of Muharram. Today is the 1st of September 2020. Thank you, YouTube, for enabling us to use this wonderful platform, and for the YouTube inventor. I must say, congratulations. It's a nice place that we are able to discuss a lot of things, a platform that we could interact and we could share knowledge. And for my case, it's more of educational, environmental education. So let us continue today with what I want to share about applied environmental management vis-a-vis environmental law and environmental technology. Okay, first and foremost, before you proceed viewing this video of mine, please refrain from watching this video if you're now in the mosque and the khatib is already reciting the khutbah and it is for the Friday prayers, okay? Or in other what we call it here kuliah lessons by scholars. Please don't watch this video. Pay attention to what is more crucial for life, okay? Now today I'm going to discuss with you some important parts of an important role or task that we have got to pursue in our effort to comply to environmental law, and of course for environmental well-being. Okay, it's our responsibility. Now, in this particular video, we are going to discuss on how to determine our air emission parameters for our routine monitoring work. Which environmental parameters, as far as air pollutants is concerned, there's an array, list of them identified and made known by scientists, but which one is actually related to us? We're going to look into that. Now, this is what we're going to do today. We are still, remember, in the middle of the Environmental Quality Act. We are still discussing the Environmental Quality Clean Air Regulations 2014, and in the middle of this law there is one provision that requires us to declare our air emissions that we release into the atmosphere from our respective sources, premises, activities, and even fuel burning equipment. So what do we do? Now, this law, before I get into the concept, I'm going to share with you. You may say it's a concept, but there is certain principles that lies within that we have got to look at it together. And for this what they call a session, I am only able to quote several examples, otherwise it's going to be very long. Now, Regulation 18 of this particular law in Malaysia, Clean Air Regulations 2014, look, apparently the first scheduled activities, it is applied only for first scheduled activities, all right? Because if you go down the law, you might get confused. Everybody might thought that they have got to, or what you call, do an environmental emissions declaration. Now, this is only the what they call emissions declaration, as far as this law is concerned, is mandatory for those activities, premises, factories which are listed in the first schedule. Nonetheless, I add on some of this concept and principle to help out other industries which are not listed in the first schedule to do identification of environmental parameters, because emissions declaration is involving the reveal, the disclosure of the types of environmental air pollutants that we emit into the atmosphere from our processes. For those industries which is listed in the first schedule, it is a breeze for them because the law stipulated clear enough what parameters. Nonetheless, for other industries which are not listed in the first schedule, remember, I will show you the Google map afterwards again, they have got to be confronting with the list of environmental hazardous substance, carcinogenic substances, of course dioxins and furan, and the list of all these hazardous substances is really exhaustive. So how to go about identifying? But for the moment, let's stick to the first schedule activities. It is really simple. All they do is get to the nearest DOE office or visit the DOE portal and get the form and fill up the form, and in the form they have to declare what they emit. Now, however, when to do it? Look, if we are existing factory, meaning as this law enter into force in the 6th of June 2014, as I remember, sorry, 4th of June, there you are, 2014, they have got to do it 18 months from that date of enter into force of the law. So it's all passed. So if you are an existing factory right now and you haven't submit your declaration and that you are in the first schedule of activities, it's about time that you do it now. Get it done quickly. And for new factory who got set up, you're given within 1 to 1.5 years from the date of your first startup operation start date. You've got 1 year to 1.5 years to gather all your environmental monitoring emissions, identify the parameters, and then declare them to the authorities. That is for the meaning of this particular law. Now let us go into, remember the Google map again. Now this is the Google map, as I say. This is the chronology of how we want to use the Clean Air Regulations 2014. You can find it in our previous video. Just click my channel, so my face over there, and I think if you click it, you'll get in it the list of all the other videos. No, never mind that. For this particular regulation, look, if we are here, where? In the first schedule. Very easy, because the law has stipulated for us all our air pollutants parameters is already listed and specified in this particular schedule. If we are in the first schedule activities, no problem with that. Also, if we have huge fuel burning equipment like this, okay, all our emissions, now remember, I'm talking about emissions in this particular slide, not fuel content, not fuel quality, all right? Now, the emissions from these big burners or genset or thermal oil heaters, their parameters are already stipulated in this particular schedule, second schedule. Easy. Where is the problem? All right, remember, this law is only for those in the first schedule, whereby they have to submit their emissions declaration, which is done easy. You can get the form from the DOE. It's all easy. It's all there. All you got to do is to start monitoring. But we have other friends who are other factories, other activities. All right, do you see this? Other activities, other premises, other manufacturing plants, other factories, and smaller size field burning equipment. Do you see that? They have got to look into the fourth schedule and the fifth schedule. And what is fourth schedule? Dioxin and furan. A list of them. And what is fifth schedule? Hazardous emission. An entire array of substances, matters, which can go airborne as air impurities, is listed. Enormously lengthy. Okay, so I just want to share that with you so that you understand our situation. Now let's get into the next slide. Let's take a look. I believe coffee, anyone? So the reason I'm doing this slide for you is to show you the concept. Let's take a look at this example. I want to show you how easy is it for premises, activities or factories which are listed in the first schedule, because the environmental parameters has been identified, has been specified, in fact regulated. They don't have to do research. They don't have to do a lengthy determination by means of what is called baseline study. If you don't do this, you got to do baseline study, and you know how long it takes to do baseline study to identify all these parameters? How many sampling, number one, and how many parameters you got to analyze, how many samples you got to take in order to do this. But for this factory, which is already in the first schedule, look, for example, heat and power generation plant. They are producing a total capacity of 10 megawatt. Easy, they are all in the first schedule. So what they do is refer to the third schedule, which is already specifying what sort of parameters, and here you are. These are all the parameters which is listed in the first schedule, whereby for boilers, hydrochloric acid, fume, sulfur dioxide, hydrofluoric acid, nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, total mercury, total particulate matter, and polychlorinated dibenzodioxane and polychlorinated dibenzofuran, even dioxin and furan, but specific, polychlorinated. It may not include dioxin-linked chemicals like TCE, or there are a few, I can't remember all of them. Now, this is the only parameter that this particular premise has got to monitor for as long as this law stays. Simple, isn't it? Straightforward. But nonetheless, they have got other challenge, as you know, probably continuous emission monitoring for some of the parameters like total particulate matter, etc. That's another issue. Now, if they adjust turbine, look, nitrogen dioxide and carbon monoxide, and they are burning probably diesel most of the time, or right now, more popularly in this country, at least, coal-fired power plant. They're burning coal. All right, it could be bituminous coal, and they generate all this. And if they combine, they have a combined cycle genset. There you are. See, straightforward, isn't it? So, before you do, the morale of the idea is, before we do environmental emissions declaration to conform, to comply to the law, you got to make sure you identified all these parameters correctly based on your operation. For a boiler, so and so parameters. Turbines, only 2 parameters. If you're a combined cycle genset, 3 parameters. If you're having all 3 of them in the whole premise, then it's everything listed in that particular law, and you don't need flow rates, you don't need loading. Okay, there were some of these some of these what they call emission standard is based on flow rate, what do you call it, mass loading, concentration multiplied by flow rate. Now, can we go into the next slide and take a look? This is worthy to discuss. This is definitely not in the first schedule. You know why? Look at this. They are smaller genset. Do they burn diesel? Is liquid fuel? Sorry. They are big genset because they burn liquid fuel, look, at a rate of more than 15 kilogram per hour. Sorry. So they are actually in the second schedule. Okay. Therefore, by virtue of the fact that this particular genset is using fuel consumption that much, and it is liquid fuel, all right, and it is more than qualified for the 15 kilogram per hour limit, thereby this genset is considered big. And when it is big, it burns more fuel, therefore it is subscribing to what is called second schedule. Got it? Now, this is a clear cut, whereby second schedule for fuel burning equipment stipulated these particular parameters. There you are. Carbon monoxide and total particulate matter, and we have got to do loading because there is some variation in the emission limit based on dust load in kilogram per hour. So please check the second schedule, which I have posted in earlier videos. Okay, now this is straightforward because it is stipulated specifically. The parameters are being spelled out specifically in the second schedule in the law. It is straightforward, all right. It is clear cut. It is slim fit. Okay, so it's not a problem. Now let's take a look at another example for you. This is a case of another diesel burner. Now, one thing I want you to take a look. In the previous burner, do you have dioxin and furan? Or would the case maybe applies that they have got to refer to other standards for dioxin and furan? But in this case, this particular burner being smaller and consume the same type of fuel, which is diesel, at only 5 kilogram per hour, smaller. Could be standby genset for some particular factories, all right, or premises or activities, and they fall under other premises, all right, and they are subscribing to fourth schedule and fifth schedule. Now take a look. Fourth schedule is regulating dioxin and furan, but there are so much type of dioxin. Now, I want to show you some kind of redundancy here. Look, the fourth schedule is specifically for dioxin and furan. Look, this is the entire list of dioxin and furan in the fourth schedule, and also this is the entire strain of dioxin in the fourth schedule. And look at the first one. 1378 is tetrachlorodibenzoadioxin. It is multiple polychlorinated, easily said, dibenzodioxin. And the same thing for this one. 2378, look, tetrachlorodibenzofuran is all about multiple halogens of chlorine. So tetra, specific strain. 2378, the position of the chlorine atom, the benzene ring of the furan, double benzene structure of furan, is specific. 2378 carbon atom of the benzene structure. Now, that is in fourth schedule. So this is the fourth schedule is regulating this one and also that one. You see now what? Dioxin and furan. Now, as far as my experience and journals that I've read so far, and also referring back to the law on what they call power generation plant, the parameters which are associated to the combustion of diesel are namely, look, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, total particulate matter, carbon monoxide. But honestly speaking, carbon monoxide is less in diesel combustion, or maybe none at all. Chlorine, hydrochloric acid, hydrofluoric acid, and total and mercury. What is missing? I think carbon dioxide, but maybe most likely, as far as I know, carbon dioxide is also emitted from diesel combustion engine, but carbon dioxide apparently is literally more, is ubiquitous in the environment, so it's part of the atmosphere, so it's not regarded as pollutant in this case, because as you know, it is absorbed in perhaps photosynthesis of needed by the plants. All right, and I'm not sure. I think it doesn't participate in as a greenhouse gas anyway, but never mind that. Look, these are all the parameters known to us. Now, in the fifth schedule, we have also this category 1, extremely hazardous substance. Now take a look. Don't you see similarities between the category 1 of fifth schedule and the fourth schedule, where you have got dioxin and furan? Take a look. This is polychlorinated dibenzodioxin. Take a look. Don't you think this is also in the fourth schedule? Polychlorinated dibenzofurans. And here is polyhalogenated. Any kinds of halogens. Polyhalogenated dibenzofurans. Now, in the fourth schedule, the halogen involved are mostly or all chlorine. So bromine is not involved in the fourth schedule. Yeah, bromine is missing. So bromodibenzofuran is not there. So apparently, category 1 hazardous substance of the fifth schedule is more general. It covers chlorine, bromine, and yeah, so far it's chlorine and bromine. But if you look at what I have marked down here, it's polychlorinated. Polychlorinated is fine, but you got here 2 species of polyhalogenated dibenzodioxins and polyhalogenated dibenzofurans. What it might involve, if you detect, if we are in this situation where we have a burner burning diesel at the rate of 5 kilogram per hour, small burner, apparently we have got to perform some kind of baseline study analysis of our emission to include all species of halogenated dibenzofurans and halogenated dibenzodioxin. How many parameters are there? All right, and that, I think that baseline study is enormous. Okay, but we got to study. All right, this is the law. This is how the law put it. So those are where the halogenated, it could be iodine, polyiodinated, correct me if I'm wrong, polyfluorinated, what else? Brominated, okay, it's not there. What else? Bromine, yttrium, what do you call it? There's another halogen compounds. You have chlorine, fluorine, iodine, bromine. What else? Yeah, iodine, bromine, and yttrium, 80. I can't remember. You check your periodic table. Anyway, chemists, give us a hand over here. Now, so therefore, the idea is, if we are not in the first schedule, apparently from what I see here, we have got to do a baseline study to specifically identify what are our releases from our emission. What are the specific type of air impurities? What are the air impurities that is being released from our stack, from our exhaust, from our conduits, from our LEVs? And we have got to analyze almost anything which is potential, almost any air impurity which is potentially released from the combustion of our diesel fuel in this case. And I can't imagine if we are in other industries which are not regulated or specified in the first schedule, whereby their emission standards in the third schedule is quite straightforward. It's been specified, but if our emissions are not specified just because we are not in the first schedule of list of premises, therefore we got to do baseline study, and I think that is quite extensive, don't you think? So this is just one sample that I'm able to share with you. There's so many other examples that I can come forward with, and you have even your own case studies, but this video is going to be too lengthy. Now I want to show you this. Look, actually diesel combustion do emit that much of total equivalence of dioxin and furan releases. Maybe other types of dioxin related or dioxin linked chemical, DLC. So 1.95 microgram total equivalence, as compared to what we have in the law, as you know, 0.1 microgram total equivalence. That's the limit in the standard. We got 1.95. That is the study done by these people. You can check their papers. All right, this is my reference. You can check their papers, and there are so many other references. I got this paper from them because it is FOC, but the other journals that I have to read before this, most of it I have got to pay. But this one, apparently, honorably, they have shared this in the internet, and take a look. They have done the test, and it is exceeding the standards that we have in this law. So diesel combustion do emit dioxins, and furan. All right, and it is carcinogenic. It is, as you know, in my previous video, we mentioned about bioaccumulation, biomagnification. It's into the food chain and interlinked from one environmental media to another. All right, so let's go on. Now, what I have here for you is a concept based on the situation that we have right now, as far as your effort to conform to this particular law, which is Clean Air Regulations 2014. So, rule of thumb is what we have got to do. If you do not know, this is especially for people who wants to determine the types of environmental air pollutants parameters associated to their emission, to their processes. Okay, so if you want to do if you want to really identify what is applicable or what you have released in through the stack, all right, what is your actual emission, what been which parameter. So inevitably you got to do some form of baseline study, and how that work is you got to have a bit of patience. First thing you got to do some research. Now, simple research. All right, what do? Look, study your process mechanism. All right, and then get hold of your safety data sheet of all the materials that is involved in either your combustion, which is involved in reactions that generate volatile organic carbon or any other air impurities, all right, including oven. For example, if you are producing wire which is being enameled, all right, it gets to an oven, you don't smell anything because you've fitted some kind of conduit exhaust out of the oven. But you got to check the air that come out of that oven. It can be a small unit of oven or dryer where your wire has gone through an enamel, which is actually a mixture of varnish and solvent, and varnish is a mixture of pigment and solvent. So you've got potential volatile organic carbon as you dry up that particular coated wire. All right, so just one example. There's so many other examples. So get hold of the SDS, and based on the SDS, check with the chemists who are qualified, who are having experience in combustion chemistry or thermal setting of materials, mechanical engineers, perhaps industrial chemists, perhaps a chemical engineer, perhaps be able to help you. These people need to put input and do further research. Well, we are fortunate today. We got Mr. Google, so do further research to check on other similar factories that are emitting all these air pollutants. So once you have done that, you are able to list down the probable potential parameters, as I call it over here. And what we do is do a baseline analysis, meaning sampling and analysis. Could be isokinetic, it could be any kinds of stack sampling on that particular conduit or exhaust or stack. Talking about companies which are not subscribing to the first scheduled activities, you got to do this only one time. This is not monthly basis. This is only one time to identify. See, this is only one time to identify what are our emissions, how much in terms of concentration, and how frequent in terms of flow rate. This is a procedure to identify, not a monthly basis. You do it only one time, once and for all. As long as you don't change the process nature, process raw mat, it will apply. But if you change raw mat, then you got to do it again. All right. So you do baseline study to detect the presence, to detect. That is quite subjective, will depend on the detection limits of your various equipments, okay? And that will be depending on who you engage to do your analysis. What equipment have they? So then check whether those parameters that's been detected is significant in terms of environmental engineering, environmental pollution, and also legal. Are they listed in any of the law, or are they listed in the so-called fifth schedule and the fourth schedule of this particular clean air regulation? So check. Then you are able to weigh its significance. Do a bit of evaluation if you want to, all right? And then after that, you may have like 40 types of parameters or 20 types of parameters. Only 10 is significant, all right? So you select those which you deem are what they call legal binding and also deems to be of environmental concern. So once you have got that selected parameters in your bag, what we do is we start to check the legal limits. There you are. Only then we check with the law. If it is regulated in the law, what are the limits? And please, please check with the DOE if they have got some guidelines on those parameters that you have found. And then the sets of parameters that you have detected shall be finalized, of course, with the, if you want, with the advice of the DOE. Okay. But I think your chemist would be able to do a good job too, because the chemist knows about all these parameters and significance to the environment. And then you start to do the monitoring. Only those parameters that you have finalized, only those parameters that you have selected and relevant to your operation, then you start to do monitoring on a regular basis, or perhaps do one monitoring for the sake of a declaration. But let me remind you, emission declaration so far in the law applies only to premises activities which are listed in the first schedule of regulation 13. So if you are none of them, I don't think there is any mandatory requirement based on the law. Otherwise, if the DOE says that you got to submit your declaration, please comply. So after you have got this done, then you start to collect the data from your monitoring work, from your monitoring activity, and check for the performance. What performance? Not only compliance performance or evaluation, but this will give you the idea in terms of performance of the equipment that generate the emission, and also performance of any air pollution control equipment which is associated to filter the releases from your so-called processors or fuel burning equipment or anything which release all these air pollutants. So this performance, you may use percentage or you may use a ratio. So, but make sure it is simple, and you need to have criteria for your performance ranking. Try to do ranking, okay? A little bit of work. Maybe your consultant should be able to provide some value added services like this. It doesn't cost them much anyway. It's just data analysis and data management. That is all. A bit more statistics, okay? Now, once you have got that done, you can keep the report. You got the report with you. It is therefore also a requirement that we submit the report to the DOE. And for those who got to do emissions declaration, especially those who are in the first schedule, the for emissions declaration is with the DOE. Please get hold of it and use that form to submit your emissions declaration. So this is by far, this particular slide should be able to help you determine the types of emission that is being released from your respective sources, and this is by far, from my personal experience, giving excellent results. Okay, and I can use this report because it is being endorsed by a chartered chemist. If somebody pointed to my factory that I've got some other parameters, I can point them that we have made the baseline study, we have analyzed for all the relevant or potentially relevant parameters and what is detected, what is not, and we just produce this report. And this report is also a permissible evidence in courts if the chemist is a chartered chemist under Malaysian Institute of Chemistry. So it is worth to do this analysis. Right, so I think by far that's about it that I'm able to share with you for this particular video. I apologize for any shortcomings or any lack of details because I tried to make it short, but it's over 40 minutes now. Now, I thank you for your time, for your attention, and please share this video to anyone whom you know are in need of the information. And also I'd like to thank all subscribers who have subscribed to this channel. Please benefit from it. And for those who are related to environmental sciences, environmental law, environmental management, and if you think you need some information, please, you're welcome to subscribe to this channel, comment and share. All right, and if you subscribe, you can click to my picture, I think the small icon of me, and I think YouTube would give you an array, a list of all the videos with all specific titles before you, and that is easier for you to look for information in that way. All right, so I end this session wishing everybody in good health, free from COVID-19. Let the vaccine be discovered soon, and we hope that the vaccine is safe for us. So as a Muslim, I wish everybody Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Till we meet in the next video, take care.